Hi friends, it's Jess with Our Bipolar. Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm here with Rachel Foster. She's a wellness coach for people with bipolar, and she also has bipolar herself. So welcome, Rachel.
Hi, so nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so glad to have you. So first, we're going to talk about Rachel's bipolar diagnosis story, and then we'll, get into everything she does as far as coaching. But first, I am going to ask you to please subscribe to my channel and like this video if you like it. I know you will. And comment. We love all the comments, and Rachel and I will go in and answer your comments. Let's go right in, your diagnosis story, and just, whatever you want to share and about your journey after that.
Yeah, so I was actually 15 when I started to have symptoms, but I didn't recognize that at the time. That's looking back now, I realize, oh, yeah, I had symptoms very early on. I know that because when I was 15, I had a very intense period of depression, wanting to end my life. During high school, remember a lot of hypomania, a lot of elevated mood, and alternating with periods of depression. During college, I remember a lot of depression. I loved my psychiatric nursing classes because I was in nursing school and did graduate and became a nurse. But as far as I could relate to the things that I was learning in psych nursing, but I was still very oblivious, unaware of myself and the signs and symptoms that I could was actually experiencing myself. So wasn't until I was 25 then that I was talking with a friend, and she revealed that she had bipolar disorder. She had had it for many, many years. And my reaction was, really? And I immediately thought, because when I've studied and read about bipolar disorder, can relate to a lot of it. And when I told her that, she just said, yeah, she could see the signs because of her experience.
Right.
Yeah. So that was the first time that I really thought of it as, wow, maybe this is a real possibility. And so I talked to my doctor about it and went to the psychiatrist for the first time and was diagnosed at that point.
Okay. And so what was your journey like? Just a little bit of, so I'm assuming you got on medication, and did it work out well for you? And, you were able to kind of move on with your life?
At first, she wanted to give me a mood stabilizer, and I was like very adamant that I did not want to go that route. I thought, well, I've got the knowledge now, I can learn about bipolar disorder and I can understand it and I can manage it myself. I
Mhm.
was actually on an antidepressant that was given in my early 20s for pain, musculoskeletal pain.
Hmm.
So that had helped my pain. So I actually, at that time, I talked to my doctor and I was like, can I just take a little bit extra of the antidepressant one when I'm feeling depressed? And he said that that was fine, but I could only do it for 3 days max. And I would start to get hypomania.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that can be common. I know sometimes bipolar 2, people can be put on antidepressants, and it can work out if it's a low dose. I know for bipolar 1, like what I have, that is usually not recommended because you will go into mania. So,
Right. Yeah. So I tried my best and I had already accumulated what I felt like I was accumulating diagnoses. So I was feeling very disempowered because of that. Like I couldn't accomplish my goals. But finally in 2014, I was 30. I had made a big move moved to a different town, had a new set of friends, new job, new everything. And about a year, within a year, I was experiencing more symptoms than ever before, more hypomania, more depression, sometimes even in the same day, I would go from one to the other. A lot of the thoughts about death. It was really rough. So that is when I began seeking more help and started working with more professionals.
How did that end up? Like what ended up happening there?
It was within a year that I felt pretty stable finally for the first time in many, many years. I was very excited to be starting to feel better. And since then, it's just been more and more stabilization, more and more self awareness, and managing it better and better since then during the past 10 years.
That's great. That's so good to hear. And so before we get into talking about your coaching, uh, can you describe a little bit about the differences between therapy and coaching? Because I know a lot of people, it can be a little confusing for people.
Right. So I've done both. I've done a lot of both.
Hmm.
With therapy, that's helped me a lot because that's actually providing a treatment plan for things like trauma, and working a lot on the past is what it has helped me with. Yeah, so I was able to work through and process different things that have happened in the past and overcome the inward trauma that was caused by those things. Now, with coaching, the experience that I've had with that is different because peeks into the past and gains information from the past, but it's not as focused on the past. It's more focused on the present and the future.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So on this journey, how did you get into coaching and why did you want to coach for, mental health and emotional health?
I already had been taking a lot of psychiatric nursing, continuing education for years. I enjoyed that aspect of nursing. And a friend actually, who was also a nurse, started to get into wellness coaching. I found that by working with her when she started that, it was very instrumental in helping me to move forward. Yeah, it really empowered me to set and reach goals, things like doing more volunteer work and learning new languages, that it helped me to reach goals like that, traveling to other countries. It helped to increase my self-esteem as I accomplished things like that. I also learned a lot about nervous system states and energy budgeting. That helped me immensely with the bipolar symptoms and drastically helped me increase my self awareness so that I could identify very quickly the signs and symptoms as they were starting, such as before I were to go into a major hypomania or major depression, recognizing those early signs so that I could then take action and avoid
Mhm.
slipping too far into that.
That's so important. That's something that it took me years to learn to do that myself. I've never had coaching, but through therapy, it did help somewhat. But yeah, I think I definitely could have used some help in that area earlier on. So in doing the coaching and being coached yourself, it sounds like that made you want to help others with coaching. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly, right. It had such a big impact on me that eventually I was like, yeah, I can do this. I would love to work in this field.
Well, great. So, how did you go about becoming a coach? I know you have some different credentials. So, what was that process like?
Yes, I took two certification classes that were both accredited by the International Coaching Federation, or the ICF, and just started learning, practicing a lot, and learning to coach in a way that, with the bipolar diagnosis itself, it helps me to be able to help others to feel that understanding, they're understood, they're seen, they're heard, hold that space for them. And I can relate so much because of my personal experiences. I am able to really offer them a lot of hope and comfort because of the progress that I've made. It helps them a lot that way. Also, being able to ask the right questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I could see, and you're helping them based on your lived experience, but you're also providing an example to them of, where you could be because you've progressed so far. So I think that's amazing. So walk us through what it's like for a new client when they're just starting out with you.
I offer a free Zoom call initially to help a person strategize the best next step for them. And that may look like coaching for them, and it may not. It really helps us to get to know each other, and we can both decide if it's a good fit. If they also prefer, there I do also have a application that they can fill out if they're interested in receiving coaching instead of the Zoom call. If we both decide that it seems like a good fit, then there's a couple different ways that we can work together. I do offer one-on-one coaching, and I usually recommend that to be a package of like 6 or 12 coaching sessions instead of just a couple, because you can make more progress, obviously, in more time.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do group coaching in a group setting in conjunction with an online course that individuals can take.
Okay. And I think, when we talked earlier, you were also saying in the group session, so there's group meetings, but also there's like a spotlight element. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So we have, obviously, there's a group on Zoom together, but during the session, anyone who volunteers can have a 15-20 minute or so individualized time in which they're receiving that coaching,
Mhm.
and the whole group is benefiting from the experience.
That sounds really, yeah, that sounds great. And also, yeah, having a sense of community, meeting other people that probably have similar issues. I think that sounds like a good option. So tell me, I'm sure, you've talked a little bit about it already, how you incorporate your experience with bipolar 2 into your coaching. And then I'll also have you talk about how you incorporate being an RN.
I think there's a special benefit to having that personal experience with bipolar, because I'm able to really relate to what the individual is experiencing. And so that helps them to feel understood, seen, and heard.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to talk about it here, but I do also have firsthand knowledge of self injury. And so that if an individual is dealing with something like that, I can provide a lot of feedback in that regard. I know it also gives individuals, they've mentioned that it brings them a lot of hope and comfort because of the progress that I have made. I'm very grateful to all the help that I've received. And so being able to show them that a better future is definitely possible for working on healing from their symptoms. Also, I think it helps me to ask the right questions because I went from a place of being very unaware of self to being very self-aware. So asking the right questions to help them to also increase their own self-awareness.
Mhm.
And with the nursing too, I it definitely has given me a greater knowledge and experience base that I'm able to understand the medical side of the client's experience and really work with the person holistically.
I think, yeah, being able to incorporate both the bipolar and the experience being an RN, I think gives you it gives you just is an added benefit to the clients. I mean, they're able to benefit from your experience working in that field and knowing, the medical background and also the bipolar background. So I think that really does give you a leg up. So do you ever find that coaching others triggers bipolar symptoms for you?
No, not at all. I think because I've already healed so much. And so coaching is very much about being regulated as a coach in that time with the client so that I can hold space and be fully absorbed in what their experience is and what they're listening to what they have to say. So it's not so much about thinking about myself in that time, and I've already healed the parts that could have been triggered in the past.
I see. Yeah. So, is there any free advice you can give us today without signing up for coaching? Although I do recommend anyone out there to sign up for coaching. I think it's a great experience.
Sure, there is one tool that I've used a lot that's been very helpful, and that is simply what I call free flow writing. And what that means is that it's like journaling only without having a set purpose or pressured to write a certain thing. Just whatever comes to the mind,
Hmm.
whatever you're having in that moment, just write them out on the page without pressure, without judging what you're saying. And it's really good, especially if you can catch racing thoughts when they're first starting to happen, because we can't write as fast as we think. So it really does slow down the thought processes. And there's a couple options once you have done that for a few minutes or filled a page or two. You can either just get rid of it, throw it out, destroy it, whatever you want to do with it. But also sometimes I like to keep it because I can identify patterns in my thinking. And I also look for ways that I can show self-compassion based on the things that I've written.
Yeah, I do that a little bit. And sometimes when I go back, sometimes it can be slightly embarrassing, but at the same time, I'm, like you said, showing compassion for myself that I was in that state at the time. And sometimes I can find things that are good ideas. Like there's a lot of bad ideas. Don't get me wrong, but there are some good ideas in there at times or creative things that I can use. So, yeah, no, I think that's great advice. So for your clients, do you have specific goals for them or is it different depending on each person?
I do work with people who have experienced bipolar and those who don't as well. So that their goals can vary depending on their own experiences, of course. But some of the things that have been really, really important, I think, for most individuals, learning about and cultivating self compassion is huge.
Mhm.
I know that's helped me immensely in my journey. Identifying and challenging those beliefs that are holding you back that aren't necessarily true, learning to stop the loop of unhelpful thoughts. I have I've learned some tools that are very helpful for that. But then also learning the root cause of symptoms and how to actually downgrade that root cause, and then really embodying who we want to be in the future, embodying healthy beliefs about ourselves that really those are what lead to increased happiness and decreased symptoms.
Yeah, I think that's great. So is there anything else you want to say before we leave here?
I know that in classes that I've taken, I've learned a lot about how science is teaching us that there's specific reasons why we become either depressed or manic, hypomanic. And I believe that the root cause actually relates to events in our life that we were totally unprepared for, that our mind, our psyche, our brains weren't ready to handle. And so that change the way our brain and our thought processes work. So I just really want to say, if you're dealing with this, you're not broken. When you realize that symptoms like this are actually very normal reactions to the experiences and the events that have happened in your life, I think that's something that's helped me to have more self compassion. And when we have self compassion, that's about accepting exactly where we are in the moment, who I am today. And it's only once we accept who we are today and really reach that full acceptance that we can embrace and embody who we want to become in the future.
So true. It took me a long time to learn that. So I think that's good advice. So, Rachel, just tell everyone where they can find you.
Yes, I am on Instagram, rachel.elaine.foster. Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, and then I'll also give you my email that anyone is free to reach out to me via email.
Yeah, and I'll put all Rachel's information down in the description box. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and talking about coaching and coaching people with bipolar. And, I'll admit, before I met with Rachel, I was a little bit skeptical, but knowing all the training she's received and, being an RN, I think this is a valuable experience and it is something that could help people, especially for me, I just imagine I could have used this when I was first diagnosed. So just want to say thank you. And also thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.